the Tradeify select plans. So in my opinion, these are some of the best prop firm accounts you can get right now in the market. I've been doing this a little over 6 years now, you guys, and I absolutely love these. So these are daily or 5-day payout windows. You get to choose once you get to the funded stage. There's no consistency once you're funded, and there's end of day drawdown. We love all of that. So let's go ahead and scroll down. Let's look at these select plans. There is no 25K account. You get access to a 50, 100, or 150K account. They're giving you access to funding in as little as 3 days. As far as the industry standard goes right now, it's about 5 days. So the fact that you can get this done in 3 days is pretty awesome. And then have access to daily payouts. So with the accounts, it is a 40% consistency rule across the board. The profit target, I want to point this out too. Industry standard right now is around $3,000. They're making it a little less for everybody, $2,500. We love that. End of day trailing drawdown, we love that as well. The reset fee, pretty standard. And the biggest thing, no activation fees, you guys. No activation fee on these accounts. So you can feel free to stack these accounts without the lingering, fear of having to fund all of these accounts. So we love that. Max contracts, 4 minis or 40 micros. You can do a lot of damage with either of those, so nothing wrong with those. So once you have, met your profit target in as little as 3 days, right, the 40%, that's going to give you around an $830 profit per day to reach the 3 days. Once we get to the funded, we get to pick whether or not we want to do daily or flex, daily payouts or 5-day payouts, right? Max payout's going to be $1,000 for the daily. The flex is going to be $3,000. Max payout, there's no consistency rule in either one of these. In the daily payouts, however, there is going to be a daily loss limit of $1,000. In the flex, there is no daily loss limit and end of day drawdown in both accounts of $2,000. So now when we go over here and we look at all of the rules for this, let's go ahead and break this down, understanding what this is. The flex versus the daily. It's essentially going to, give you access to daily payouts, or it's going to require you to trade those 5 days. One thing to understand here, daily has a 50% rule. And then flex requires new profit, and we'll get into that and understand what that means. So as far as the 5 day, it's very, very similar to, what we've seen in the markets already as far as the prop firm 5-day payout windows go. It's just more that traditional milestone based with larger caps and no daily loss limit. Daily payout is going to give you that rapid access to payouts. There is tighter risk parameters, which, could be a hindrance or no big deal. It really depends on you as a trader. So when we look at the 5-day payouts, we have the maximum drawdown on a 50K end of day. We kind of already went over this. Something I want to point out again, though, this is a scaling on both the flex and the daily payouts. You start with 2 minis or 20 micros, and you can move up to the full of 4 and 40, and we'll go over that as well. So the profit split structure is amazing. 90% to you as a trader, 10% to Tradeify. You're getting your payout every 5 winning days. This is very similar to what we see in the markets right now. $150 minimum profit per day for 5 days. These days do not need to be consecutive. They can be, 3 days, 3 green days. Maybe you take a loss 1 or 2 days, and then you come back and you hit 2 more green days. That counts as your 5 days. You're ready to get a payout. There is a payout cap. It is 50% of the balance, with $3,000 being the cap that you can take out. Something cool about these accounts is, unlike other Tradeify accounts, there's no minimum account balance requirement. So that's really awesome. You can request a payout immediately after achieving your 5 winning days, regardless of your account balance. So your first payout, if you were to get the $1,500, say, you're eligible to take out 50% of that, which is that $750. So your max drawdown will lock at the 50.1, and then once your first payout's approved, your maximum permanently locks at 50.1. So subsequent payouts in second, or essentially second payouts and beyond, for all payouts after your first, you must have positive net profit during each payout cycle. It ensures right here. So ensures traders have made at least some amount of money between requests. So it's essentially keeping you from YOLOing and then just doing like minimums. They want you to be net positive, right? So essentially this is just going back into what we just discussed. If you want to pause to read, that's fine. Who is this good for, right? Who benefits from a 5-day payout window? This is where you have to really do some, introspection on who are you as a trader? What works for you? What works for your trading style? What works for the discipline? What works for where you are at in your trading journey? So you prefer larger withdrawal amounts, less frequently. You want maximum intraday flexibility with no daily loss limit, because remember the daily payouts, those have that daily loss limit. You're more comfortable with wider drawdown parameters. You like to build profits steadily over several trading sessions. You don't mind the 5 days. That's who this is best for. But now when we come down to the select, what does this look like? So this is essentially giving you rapid access to profits. You prefer more frequent, smaller withdrawals. This is going to require you to have tighter risk management. This is going to require, a lot more discipline. Is that something you're open to doing? If that's not an issue, this is a great, option. The daily plans do have a buffer system, so let's dive into that really quick. Again, there is a scaling plan very similar to the 5-day. The buffer system, however, it's going to be the $2,100 for the buffer. So you have to reach the $2,100 before you're eligible to take a payout. So you cannot withdraw profits that would bring your account balance below the buffer amount. Profits above the buffer are eligible for withdrawal up to the payout cap. Again, the profit split's going to be that 90-10, 90 to you. If you have a 50K account, your profit target, or your payout cap is going to be $1,000. Something I really want to point out with this that I haven't heard a lot of people talk about quite yet is that you can request up to 2 times the profit earned between each payout request, but it's capped at $1,000. So we got to read that again. You can request up to 2 times the profit earned between each payout request. So this cap resets after each payout cycle. Your minimum payout is $250. So example, if you have your 50K account, you make $3,500 and you earned the $250 in profit since the last payout. So your profit, $0 eligible for payout, right? So you've made 2 times $250. You're eligible to take out $500. So you're able to request a payout of up to $500 as it's more than $500 above the buffer. After the payout is approved, the balance is set to $53,000, so that $3,000. But instead, right, because we're reminding ourselves, up to 2 times the profit earned. Okay, so whatever you earned, because you have to think about how you're doing this, right? Okay, so if you were to earn $700 2 times, right, is going to give you that $1,400. But your cap is $50K. So for a $50K account, is $1,000. So you could request $1,000 and you're above the buffer. So after your payout's approved, the balance is $2,500. So this is great, in my opinion. Why? Why is this so great? because you're eligible to take this money out, right? 2 times the $1,400, but you're only allowed to take out the $1,000. What happens to that other money? It stays in the account and continues to build the buffer, and also continually builds, builds everything out. So regardless of the $1,000, payout cap, that's not a big deal at this point, right? I really love this. I think this is great. I think it's very helpful, but I also want to reinforce the fact that you do still have the daily loss limit. So again, you guys can pause this to read, but it's essentially what we just went over. This is, who is this good for, right? What kind of trader are you? What do you want out of, partnering with a firm essentially? Why do you want to buy an account from Tradeify, and does this work for you? So somebody who wants access to the profits, you trade consistently on a daily basis. This is important. If you're somebody who's super consistent, you go on the market, you're doing something that's in, out, you're done, you're daily, you can get in and out of the market and make your money, this is for you, right? This is a cakewalk for you, right? Maybe not a cakewalk, but prefer structured risk management with daily loss limits, are comfortable with tighter drawdown parameters, and you want faster cash flow from smaller regular withdrawals. There's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with taking small withdrawals, making the money work for you. Trading's not easy, and I won't ever say it's easy, but being able to have access to your money is huge. And I love that Tradeify has offered that. So as far as the scaling plans go, this is going to be like at the end of the day, if you're above, with your equity of $1,500 or more, they're going to give you access to more contracts if you need it, right? Here is the options for that. And then how scaling works. So it's, like we said, the end of the day at the account market close. Scaling examples, you guys can pause to read this if you would like to, or just go to Tradeify's FAQ section and reread this if you need to. Here's a side-by-side comparison that they laid out for us. Pretty straightforward. Pretty much everything we just kind of went through. There is one thing we really need to talk about too, and that is the path to live. So their path to live is pretty amazing, to be honest. This takes you to the elite live accounts once you meet the threshold, and it's 5 total payouts as a user, right? As a user. So say you got multiple accounts, this is tracked to get across all of your accounts combined. So if you were to take payouts, they're immediately going to be moving you into a live potentially, right? It's at their discretion as well, but it doesn't matter what kind of account you have. Closing account does not reset your payout count, right? You're still, say you took a payout and you close the account for whatever reason, you're still, one payout in, or whatever that looks like for you. Your counter only resets when you transition to elite live status. So this applies to both the select flex and select daily policies. Regardless of which payout policy you choose, your path to live trading follows the same qualification criteria. So now let's go ahead and let's jump over to what this looks like for the elite program. So it's a super flexible program. There's no profit cap. There is no profit cap. I probably should say it one more time, huh? No limit to how many times a trader can transition to live either. So that's great. So, there's really no limit here. You can transition to live status repeatedly across any plan type. A trader becomes eligible for a Tradeify again once they have the 5 total payouts measured since the last live or since the first purchase if they've never gone live before. Important. The 5 payout threshold measures eligibility to be considered for elite live status. Meeting this requirement does not automatically transition you to live. Tradeify will reach out to you when you are selected. So just something to keep in mind. As far as the transition process, you guys can pause to read this if you need to. When it comes to the accounts and what this looks like, you can have up to 5 live accounts. So you can have 5 live accounts. depending on how many accounts were eligible to move to live. And then elite live accounts include fixed drawdowns, expanded contract limits, and no daily loss limit. So say you were in the daily payouts, right, in that select plan for the daily payouts, you're getting rid of that once you're moved to live. So I love that. The bonus program's pretty cool too. So this is cumulative. So you unlock additional bonus payouts based on cumulative profits. So if you have, 5 live accounts and you're making $10,000 in cumulative profit, they're going to give you $2,000. You make $20,000, they're giving you $5,000. Pretty incredible, right? And let's talk about this really quick. Nobody talks about this a lot, but I think it's important to know all of the little ins and outs of this. Failure and cool-off policy. So if you fail your elite account, they will have you enter a 4-week cool-off period depending on live performance. After 4 weeks, you may repurchase evaluation or re-enter the program. We don't really care about this too much because our goal is to make small, steady wins and, work towards just, steady profits. Payout rules, though. Again, this is amazing. 90% to you, 10% to them, and you get daily payouts. So you can request payouts daily. Any amount above your starting balance may be withdrawn. Any amount. Pretty amazing. Drawdown lock, once the balance reaches starting balance plus $100, it becomes static. It applies to the full life of your account. So pretty cool. I really love these accounts. If you guys have any questions, leave it down in the comments. If you haven't liked the video, make sure you make sure you guys subscribe. Again, I love these accounts, and I hope to see you guys posting about your Tradeify accounts and how this journey goes for you.